listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today we have another amazing show for y'all today. Today we have our special guest, Dr. Luissa Kiprono. She has an amazing book that she released just past, Tuesday on the 13th. She released Push Then Breathe. She's going to tell us everything about her amazing story, about her life being not just an amazing person for her patients, but also being an amazing person for her community as well. First and foremost, I just want to say thanks for your time, Luissa, for your time being here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Shamaya, and thank you for inviting me. It is a pleasure to be here with you and your audience.
Let's start out with your career, because you decided to go a certain path, but even prior to your career, at the age of 19, you faced some very difficult situations. So kind of paint the picture for the audience. What happened at 19, and how did you choose the career that you had?
First, a little bit about myself. I am a refugee from former Communist Romania. I'm a maternal-fetal medicine specialist. And through my mission to help women heal, first was physically. As a physician, as a women physician, I always had the desire to help people get better and also have their life be more empowered. But then, spiritually, through my own story and through my own vulnerability, through my telemedicine practice, I provide high-risk pregnancy care to all women beyond borders in geographical career. And my book, Push Then Breathe, Trauma, Triumph, and the Making of an American Doctor, is based on my first 15 years here in America. Through my platform, which is Dr. Luissa K platform, and the book, which is the launching ground for my platform, I invite women to join together in self-empowerment, intentional presence, and resilience. So as you ask me, what, I was a physician or maternal-fetal medicine physician for that matter when I came to the United States. I came to the United States in 1987, when I was 1 month shy of 19 years of age. I came on a 2-month visit and a short visit to get to know my father. Never met him before, and now I had the opportunity to come and visit with him and meet him. And the plan was for me to come to America for this short trip, and then go back home to the people I knew, the life I knew, and go to medical school and become a doctor. The desire to become a doctor really was fueled me since I was very young, since I was a fifth grader. I was a very sickly child due to chronic tonsils infection, and after a rather traumatic procedure, I got healthy. And then it just struck me how one person, through, an intervention, whether medical or surgical, can get people to feel better, to heal them. And that desire fueled in me the deep, deep wish that I want to be a doctor. I want to help people. I want to improve their lives for the better.
When you started your journey in your career, You have been able to see a lot of people, a broad spectrum of people. You mentioned about healing organically and spiritually. What are some of the common threads that you found through your work that help support the idea that, we need both? We need spiritual healing and also, obviously, organic healing as well.
As a physician, and through my journey, both here the first 15 years, which was very much seated with a lot of trauma, mental, physical, emotional, but also as I further my career became a physician and also afterwards specialized, I realized that mind and body connections are very much interrelated. And when we try to dissect them separate, it just does not work, especially when it comes to emotional, mental and physical effect of trauma are so interrelated. But not only that, they are common within each other, but they feed upon each other like in a vicious cycle. So, for instance, all trauma, all PTSD patients have, or victims experience a myriad of health issues. So we're talking about mental health issues, diagnoses like depression, anxiety, hypervigilance, and insomnia are very prevalent in these victims. Also, chronic stress-related digestive systems. Women in particular, as I am a woman's doctor, experience chronic pelvic pain, somatization disorders, inability to tolerate medical exams. And because of this high levels of chronic stress, really it does influence pregnancies. So these women experience high-risk pregnancies due to preterm labor, small for gestation age babies, preterm deliveries, hypertensive disorders, diabetes. So you see how the organic form of our bodies and the mental and emotional, they kind of intertwine together. And then on top of it, here we have low self-esteem, depression, anxiety. What that happens is that it tends to have an aversion to healthy choices. Addiction is very prevalent, either obesity or the opposite, due to lack of resources or mental apathy. I had patients who either stress eat or stress starve. They lack interest in physical activities. They isolate, and all this feed of the one common cause: deep, long-lasting trauma events.
You have a quote that the only limitations to our own future are the ones we impose on ourselves. We are limitless. When you work with your patients and inspiring women, what are some of the things that you try to push for them to focus on with that, that quote?
That is a very near and dear quote that I found through my journey of writing this book and realizing that we are, this message that is in this book, there is a story and there is a message. And I offer them both to my readers and to my fellow humans who want to better themselves. Talking about limitations and self-limitation and about that quote, I'd like to take you and the audience on a journey. And think about that giving up in life is something we learn growing up. I like to think of it this way. What goes in the mind of a child? When you look at them, study them, see them, when they're little, they are fearless, they are courageous, and true to themselves. And then something happens along that line. We experience self-inflicted limitations as we start getting to be older children, young adults. And these limitations come from a myriad of causes imposed by our family, societal norms, close circles. And think about when we repeat this, right? So we repeat it, this causes are repeated often with ourselves or on ourselves. And this limitation embed in our character via habits and turn into our way of life. When we go through traumatic experiences, we look for a cause to blame. We say to ourselves, this happened to me because I acted out, I reacted, I spoke up, I dressed a certain way. And you hear how I. This just comes prevalent in our thinking and our mindsets. Because of me and my actions, this is what I am in this predicament in. So it must be my fault. We women, especially, are exceedingly good at this. We self-blame, self-ostracize, self-flagellate, and do this many times over, and voila. We end up trying so hardly to squeeze themselves into this neatly packaged box, desperately trying to conform, to fit in, hoping to avoid undesirable consequences. And that is the way we self-protect, and in a way we survive. I personally was one of them through all these years, the first 15 years, the first 7 years in this country. And there's so many others which remain unspoken, unknown, and unheard of. However, in my case, something deep inside me remained intact, remained untouched, and remained alive. And that was my desire, my deep desire to become a doctor. When I realized that this is really one thing that keeps me going, I clung on to it. And I tried very, very hard to not let it go. What happened is that I regained my freedom when I became an American citizen in December of 1993. And I refer to it in the book as in I escaped from my father's cage in a way. And that freedom was due to, series of small circumstances, but one of the biggest one was becoming an American citizen. The second one is having a small gift from my mom, monetary gift that allowed me to, make the leap of faith and be able to secure a roof over my head, and together with the work that I had, I had a couple of jobs at that time, and be able to start a new life and start rebuilding my life.
Once again, listen to Army Focus Radio, talking to our guest, Dr. Luissa Kiprono, and her book you can get right now is available. Go to her website, drluissak.com, and we're talking about her book, Push, Then Breathe. When you look at the part I feel like is very important in this interview, when you decide to leave Romania and start a new life in America, building from the ground up, that takes a lot of discipline and focus. I'm sure there were days that weren't easy. I mean, we all have, our battles. But for your story, what was it? I know you mentioned that desire to help people, but was there anything else outside of that kept you going in those early days when things weren't, as easy, if you will, versus your ability to give back with what you have been able to accomplish today?
Well, that is a very, very deep question with a lot of meaning. Again, when I came here to America, I was only set up or scheduled to be here for 2 brief months. My father had widely different plans for me to take away all my chances to return back home. And that included taking my passport away, changing my name, forcing me to apply for political asylum, which zeroed my chances to go back home to Romania and to my life that I knew. That together with mental, emotional, physical abuse, isolation, full financial dependence that lasted from the day I came to the United States, shortly the day I came after the United States, and for 6 years and 8 months continued, and until that getting my freedom through becoming an American citizen. That in itself was very hard. I had no language. I didn't speak English at that time. So imagine not being able to speak any language, not being able to understand anyone, not having any idea of the system in this country, being isolated, no friends, no family, no power to go back home. That in itself would stop anyone in their tracks. And not only that, it takes a person, to the brink of despair. When we get out, when I finally got my independence, got my freedom, and I started to rebuild my life, I wanted to get all this back, all these years back, build my life back together. And believe it or not, building my life back, or the attempts to, got the idea, or got my mission and my vision to become a doctor out of the way. Like, there was no more time. And when you work 3 jobs and barely surviving, there is no more room to have a dream accomplished. So this is when there was such an important step that happened here that I would like to emphasize to the audience and to you. About a year after I became an American citizen, I was able to bring family member here and visit. And I brought my mom. My mom came to visit me for the first time in 1994. And it was the day of Thanksgiving. We came from Thanksgiving Mass. We were walking from the Mass, from the chapel. And at one point, she stopped and she asked me, "What about your dream? What about your school, Luissa?" That was such a simple question, Shemaya, and had such a heavy meaning. And it hit me as I just fell unexpectedly through the ice in a frozen lake. Because at that point, my life was so hard. Again, I was trying just to survive. I was trying to live day by day. inside me, I was carrying deep, oozing wounds from my horrible past. And I was giving up and unwilling to face the truth. And here it is, this huge problem some of us have, refusing to face the truth. And what we do, we shove it off to the side and say, we're going to take care of it later. But you see, later never comes. And it really takes only one act of kindness to change this, to change darkness into a blaze of light. My lighthouse was my mother, and that through her grace, through that one question, she changed my life. So on that day, I went from apathy to finding agency, from being helpless and broken to really feeling limitless, from surviving through life to the desire to thrive. That was that day that I took ownership of my life to achieve my full potential.
We're talking to Doc. Oh, go ahead.
8 years later, at the age of 34, I graduated from medical school. I became a doctor, and I achieved my dream.
Wow. Goosebumps. Once again, talk to our guest, Dr. Luissa Kiprono. You can go to her website, drluissak.com. And yeah, I mean, that's a big moment, mile marker in your life. Like all the chapters in between, from Romania to where you are today. That moment your mom asked you that question around Thanksgiving time. Would you say that changed your whole trajectory of what you thought was possible?
Yes. It's that one moment that I realized that it's time to take ownership. And in life, we have to take ownership. We have to believe in our dreams and own them. And I would like to give the audience these 3 questions that I use them for myself, and I came up with my own answers. The 3 questions are: what did you learn from it? What is driving you? And what's in your rainbow? In my case, what I learned, that the past is behind me, that I cannot undo the past, so I must let it go. What drives me is my desire, my passion, and I won't let go until it's fulfilled. And what's in my rainbow? My handicap or my incredible abilities? I personally chose the latter.
That's a great observation, because a lot of times you can easily choose the short-term reality. And too many times, if we're not careful, we'll make our short-term reality from the moment become our future. And I like how you said what you said about not choosing the handicap, but choosing the future you, the dream you, not the old, past that you can't do anything about. When people pick up your book, what you hope ignites in them as they read?
Yes, definitely. So, in closing, I want to leave my audience with a question and a wish. And the question I posed is the same question my mom asked me. What about your dream? And the message is: embrace the possibilities that present to you. Overcome and influence the world, your world.
Once again, been listening on Refocus Radio, talking to our guest today, Dr. Luissa Kiprono. You go to her website, drluissak.com. Get her book, Push Then Breathe, Trauma, Triumph, and the Making of an American Doctor. Really powerful story. Once again, I can say, Dr. K, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Shemaya. It's been an absolute honor.